Oh, sorry about that. Don't mind me, folks. I was just fighting injustice and intolerance. I think it's time to stream. Oh, wait. It's much cooler if I put it in the correct way. Hold on. Ha! There we go. Hey, you'll see that I've got this cool Kill Bill inspired shirt. We've got a little chick, surrounded by folks. You know why? Because today we are talking about badass women. NPCs in particular. But one thing to note is that you don't have to be a warrior to be badass. And these NPCs are so cool. My name is Jamie Van Dorn. I am the founder and CEO of Neverending, and you are here watching D8 for inspiration. So get your D8, roll some inspiration. We're going to have a great time. Really quick about Neverending. My team and I are building a fantastic, interactive, representative, inclusive amateur animation and storytelling platform. Right now, you can create 2D avatars. You can place some of those 2D avatars into scenes that you create. Soon, you'll be able to produce webcomics, pose those characters, and create animated videos. It's all super cool, and it's all for you guys. Today is also for you guys because we have some fantastic folks presenting NPCs that they wrote for Anansi's Tapestry of Lives, a book that's coming out. They're going to tell you all about those NPCs and how you can use them in your game. These are so cool. And for right now, I'm going to stop saying cool and I'm going to turn it over to our fantastic guests to introduce themselves.
Hey everyone, my name's Erin Roberts. I am a writer of stories and games on the game side of things because that's what brings us here today. I've written for Pathfinder, Starfinder, Hunter the Reckoning, and I'm part of the upcoming book Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel from Dungeons and Dragons.
Pull that so much hype for that book. So much hype for that book.
Get hyped,
folks
y'all.
Have not checked it out. Check it out. It's so amazing.
It looks so good. I'm so excited. Hi, I am Jen Kretchmer. I am also a D&D author. I wrote on Candlekeep Mysteries. I've written for Starfinder. I've written for Haunted West and a number of other projects. I am a producer. I am a performer and a streamer. I am on Children of Erte for Demiplane. And I stream as DreamWisp Jen. You can find me on Twitter as @DreamWisp. I am the creator of the Accessibility in Gaming Resource Guide, which you can find in my pinned tweet. And I'm really happy to be here.
And if you guys have not checked out that wonderful stream, I'm gonna say the EarthNet Children of
Erte.
Erte, thank you. I keep wanting to say either Children of Eden or Children of Earth. Children of
Children
Erte
of Eden is an awesome show, so
yes.
you know.
Well,
Children of Earth is a great series, so you know, there's lots of
there's
no shame in either title. We'll take it.
Yeah, but the cast for that is really fantastic, so I highly recommend that. Jordan, our fantastic producer, I'm gonna ask her to link to that, please, because it's so cool. All right, and last but definitely not least,
hello, I am Cassandra. I'm a designer, also mostly on the D&D stuff. I've worked on a whole bunch of DM's Guild products, and I also lead designed on Diesel, which is Diesel Punk Cowboys, and A5e, which was an expanded version of 5e.
That's super fantastic. And by the way, if you guys have not checked out Cassandra and her writing, check her out. Her writing is really good. All of these folks are amazing writers, amazing creatives, and I am super excited to have them on board. I'm really excited to talk about the NPCs today. I want to chat first a little bit about the project and hear from you guys as to why you got involved or why it was interesting to you. So Anansi's Tapestry of Lives is an upcoming book that we're releasing of kind of diverse, inclusive, representative NPCs. But these aren't the NPCs that are like the big bad or the Duke or the Bandit King, like the Fishmonger. These are a street performer. These are a fortune teller. These are a tavern worker. They're all sorts of different kinds of NPCs that will fill up your world that you usually don't put a lot of time or thought into because they're meant to be background characters. And in my experience, those background characters often turn into the folks that the players want to adopt or really interact with. And so at the last minute, you're scrambling to come up with stuff. So we thought we would make your life easier by fleshing out these folks and giving them a cool intro monologue, personality, goals, a backstory, everything that you would expect in a fully fleshed NPC. But it's also it's meant to be a way for you to add authentic representation at your table because they're written by folks with authentic experiences. So I'd love to hear from you guys about, why you got involved.
I mean, I'll say, like, for my part, I love writing, and I love the opportunity to sort of create. I just love characters as a writer when I write stories. So I come into tabletop writing from prose writing, and so when I write stories, I'm usually a character first person. Like, I'll create an idea for a world, and then I'll often think, like, who is really interesting in this world? And oftentimes it's not like a big person, it's not like the leader, it's like the person on the street. And so I was like, ooh, this gives me the opportunity to kind of create those kind of people for other folks and put them in. And it's just so fun to, like, I don't know, sit in front of the computer and try to, like, create or come up with a life and what this person was like, and then just, like, let them loose on the world. So it's one of my favorite parts of creating. So I was like, yes, chance to make NPCs. Like, I am 100% there.
Yeah. I think I am unique in this group in that, Jamie, you approached me about writing this particular character, which I was really excited to do because we had worked together previously talking about designing disabled characters. I had consulted with you on that and worked with a number of other phenomenal designers and had this amazing roundtable. And I have actually since taken some of those people onto other projects. So that's been really fun. I got to bring Joe, Footless Joe, onto something else, which was a blast. We did some Walking Dead together. So Clementine is coming out, and we had a number of consultants, and Joe was one of them. But I loved that you wanted to create a street performer, because I don't think people realize that ambulatory wheelchair users and full-time wheelchair users are dancers, and wheelchair dance is this really beautiful, amazing thing. And aerial wheelchair performers are a thing. And that, I was a circus performer. Like, this is all stuff that's very much in my wheelhouse. So immediately I had started to have images of kind of the character I wanted to create and sort of the snark I wanted to give her, and fleshing out the friends and bandmates, for lack of a better term, troop mates, that would accompany her. So it was a lot of fun to get to create that character.
And she's fantastic. I mean, we'll dive into her, because she has so much personality, and I love that. And I'm actually gonna comment on one other thing really quick, which is, I think not only do people not realize that they're wheelchair dancers and aerialist wheelchair dancers, I think a lot of people don't even realize that there are ambulatory wheelchair users.
Yeah.
And for me, I remember you talking about that in a couple of different times. And I've heard from lots of different disabled folks, about, bad experiences that they've had with people being like, you just got out of your wheelchair, or you faking it, like strangers.
You get either it's a miracle or you're faking it, and a lot of harassment and people's lives being threatened and people being put into physical danger, and lots of not so fun things, because people think disability is binary. They think you're fully blind or you can see. The reality is anyone who wears glasses is on that visual spectrum. And 80% of blind folks have some vision. And it's similar percentage for hearing folks, for deaf folks rather, have some hearing. So it's not an on-off switch. Most wheelchair users have some ability to stand or walk. Most of us are not paralyzed. So there's a whole wide spectrum of experience that just completely gets.
And so I wanted us to be able to address that, with this NPC, so that people would be like, what? And we'll dive into that a little bit more. And I thought, and as soon as I had the idea for her, because I have, my mom is intellectually disabled. I have other family members that have both, cognitive and physical disability comorbidities. And so as soon as this kind of idea popped in my head, I was like, I have to ask Jen if she will write this one. I have to, because there's no one better. I was like, yeah. So so thank you for coming on for that.
Thank you for asking me. I'm thrilled to be part of it.
Cassandra.
One or the other. For my part, I've been a victim to the moment of the party adopting an NPC more times than I can count. So often I'll throw in this throwaway character, like this one random goblin, or this bartender, or this just a dog in the street, and they're like, yes, we love this. This is what the story's about now. And I'm like, cool, let me just scrap everything else and write 1,000 words on this NPC for you. So I really wanted to provide a little bit of a resource for people who have trouble with that too, because it's not easy to pull these kinds of characters out of nowhere. Like, I know even I couldn't pull some of the characters that I've seen from this so far. Like, these are really incredible NPCs, and they are a step up from what I can improvise on the spot, that's for sure. So I just think this will be a really great resource, and when you pitched it to me, I was excited.
Yeah, I'm glad that we had you on board. I'm loving, we have so far. So our goal is to have about 75 NPCs. And so far, I think we have 20 guest writers.
Wow.
It's like, and we haven't even gotten to all the voice actors. And that's a thing that now when we go over the NPCs today, no one is expecting voice acting from the monologue. But when the book comes out, we will have an app where you'll be able to easily just click and be able to pull up that NPC and play the professionally voice acted intro monologue for your players. So that way you don't have to feel like you have to do voices at the table, because your NPC has done the voice.
So cool.
They know who it is, what they sound like, and that's done. So that's fantastic. But I think we're gonna get into the actual NPCs here in literally just a second. But I definitely do want to encourage folks in chat, if you have like questions about any aspect of this project, or you have questions for our creators here, please, throw them up there, especially about the different things that they have worked on. We're happy to also talk about those. So that's fantastic. And we're happy to chat about, we're also happy to get your ideas about NPCs and everything. So yeah. And we're just making a quick change here. All right, so I think, Aaron, Zarietta is first up. And can you like...
So adorable. Like,
isn't she?
I saw the art. It was like, oh, I love her so much.
Yes, I love the art for Zarietta is so cute, and she's so tiny. I'm a short person. I'm 5 feet tall, so I feel I'm all about. I often weirdly I will default to making characters who are short as well, short power. But anyway, I will read her monologue. All right. Hello, friend. You're just in time. I'm about to change your life. I know what you're thinking. Who's this tiny little thing trying to tell me what to do? Well, I'm not saying you have to listen, and I'm more or less not one to pry, but the waters tell me things. Always have. And right now, they say that trouble's been drifting into your life like seaweed at high tide. Also, you have a tendency to get stuck outside in bad weather, and there's a storm 2 days away. Might want to think about getting better boots. See? I'm already stopping you from a day of damp feet. Think what I could do with the rest of your life. Next thing you know, you'll be out of deep water and onto solid ground. Satisfaction mostly guaranteed. All I need from you is a handshake and a small donation, because the truth is free, but the baker still charges by the loaf. And either way, see about those boots. Storms are coming. I know these things.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. all of you have so much personality in these. These are so fantastic. Like, I could build an adventure around this NPC. I think that's going to be the hardest part for a lot of folks. What do you guys think about Zarietta?
Oh,
Besides the fact that she's super adorable.
I love that she's just got that endearing, just like one word and you're hooked kind of charm. Like, you can't not check this out, right? Like, what player walks away from this?
Yeah, she's so. I mean, the other thing I love about her is she gives you a sense of place right away. You immediately have location sense with her. Like, you know the places you can find her and put her into the world, which is so fantastic. But she's so charming, and so, you know, everyone is going to, I mean, talk about NPCs people are going to adopt. Immediately, right? She's just so she's trying to help them, but she's got a little bit of humor about it, and you know, she could be telling the truth about being being able to tell what's coming, but she also may just know the weather in that part of town and know how to read the seas, and she's fantastic. She's so fantastic.
Agreed. I'd love to get into her bio and personality and everything. Aaron, if you don't mind reading those.
Sure. So, raised in a small community of gnome fisher folk. I don't know if gnome fisher folk exist, but now they do. Raised in a small community of gnome fisher folk, Zarietta discovered her ability to predict bad weather and rough currents at an early age, saving her sisters from a rogue typhoon at only 5 years old. But while most sea sages use their talent to help their community avoid danger on the water, she quickly tired of being the bearer of bad news and trained herself to predict happier futures on land. Her predictions about romantic relationships and business ventures may not be nearly as good as her sense that a storm is coming, but Zarietta's motto is never to have a customer walk away unhappy, even if that means mixing her legitimate fortunes with a bit of just what they want to hear. Inevitably, this leads to a few less than satisfied customers, but the network of seaside gnome communities is usually willing to take her in while she lies low after a confrontation in return for a few accurate predictions about the weather. Zarietta likes to think of these times away from fortune telling as a nice retreat, but it never lasts, and she's soon searching for a new town where she can hang up her shingle and help people in need of good fortune. There you go.
Fantastic. Gnome fisher folk are now canon in my world, and there are definitely a series of seaside communities of them.
Like fishing for sardines, for sure, because like I love or having these amazing solutions for if they catch a barracuda or something huge. Like, just there are so many cool possibilities for gnome fisher folk. But also, I love that she basically runs around having druid craft and passing it off as being a diviner. It just as an inspiration for a player character too. There's just so much in there. Yeah. Oh, she's so good. She's so good, Aaron.
And also, now you have me thinking about the barracuda, like large fish, and I'm just picturing like gnomes riding fish, like gnomes. Like, is there a fish of a size that could be ridden by a gnome? Like, I mean, there were some very, very small dolphins. There you go.
That could be fun, or sharks, or I mean, it depends. Yeah,
like in a fun way, not in like a mean.
No, but also like maybe some of you could play with some of the stuff that was in Netherdeep too, like you could, or other sailing. It's very early in the morning. Other sailing adventure, salt marsh. Thank you. Yeah. But the gnomish ingenuity with creating solutions for weight distribution for a large creature, large catches and things. It just. And what do you do with that? Is that how you feed the village for a month, or is that something you go and sell? And just the possibilities it opens up is what's so brilliant about this character.
Yeah, and also cool giant hermit crabs that gnomes are using to like pull chariots and to like You know, like this is your RV now is a giant hermit crab. Like I can just see it.
Oh
I'm
my
a
gosh, I'm
huge nerd.
picturing RV communities, like which are have a very specific vibe of like giant hermit crab RV communities.
This is amazing. Okay, I'm a huge nerd for aquatic stuff. Like the Aquatic Feywild is a place I've been designing for way too many years.
Oh, that's
But so this combination of the gnomish engineering with aquatic is just the greatest thing ever. And these ideas are like there's so much potential in combining the way we've traditionally depicted gnomes with tinkering and engineering, with seashells and seaweed and anemones and just
there's so much cool stuff
happy.
there. I'm legitimately writing to our editor during this stream and letting him know that we have to figure out if there's a way to do a small box text with Zarietta that's talking about gnomish essentially RV communities with giant hermit crabs. I just feel like that's a whole thing that just needs to be there. So I'm just saying.
Anyway, sorry, let me keep going. I got distracted by the giant sea crab RVs, hermit crab RVs, to be accurate. Personality-wise, Zarietta can usually be found at the docks, laughing heartily while learning about the day's gossip. With her tendency to make people feel lighter when they leave her presence, as if they've just heard a joke they can't remember the punchline to, she is always welcome. For her part, Zarietta loves intrigue almost as much as she does laughter, tracking what she tells each client and making bets with herself on which of the fortunes will come true and which will come back to haunt her. All right, her goal. Zarietta has only told her own fortune once, predicting that she would find true happiness when, quote, the land was only a memory. Interpreting that as being out on the ocean, she's been saving money to pay for a berth on a merchant ship, but she hasn't quite gotten the gumption to leave the shores she knows behind. Also, 10 points to past Aaron for writing the word gumption.
Good word.
That's a fun word. And finally, her quirk. Zarietta sleeps best on the water and often sneaks onto docked ships to curl up in a quiet corner. Occasionally, she's woken up as the ship is leaving shore and had to make her way back by land, taking the opportunity to add to her extensive collection of cerulean sea glass.
So many details. This is and this is standout, but it's also not standout because all of you folks did fantastic jobs with like adding in little details to different areas. But I love that I now know that if I read this as the DM, I also now know that she collects cerulean sea glass.
Right, not any sea glass will do. Cerulean specifically.
Yeah, this is so fantastic. I'm curious if any of you, I think I know the answer to this, but I'd love to hear how Cassandra and Jen, how you guys might use Zarietta. Is there a place for Zarietta in your game? How would you use her? Like, how do you think your players might react? Just any ideas about how she might get introed or help move the story along or sidetrack it or whatever.
I mean, obviously. Oh, go ahead, please.
Oh, okay. I run a lot of pirate games, so I don't have to say much. I feel like the character speaks for herself. Like, in what world would she not fit cleanly into any pirate game? Like, what crew would not want to adopt her?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, for any port city, she fits right in. Any coastal village, but also as someone that the players might need to seek out because they need to have someone predicting things about the future or the weather. Also, it's now that they've announced Spelljammer, spelljamming ports, you can put her into that type of port city and play with that idea. And I love the idea that you've now built a quest in that you have to go find cerulean sea glass. And it could be a very specific type of cerulean sea glass that you can only get in one place, and you have to go on an adventure to reclaim that. So there's just, she opens up so many quest hooks and possibilities. And also just as someone to come along and help be a navigator, she wants to go on this trip. They can take her with them to wherever they're headed, and she gets to go live her dream. And, you know, in exchange, she's telling them, hey, the seas are going to be choppy tomorrow. It's going to rain. It's going to be, or you know, you are going to meet a tall, dark stranger who is going to sweep you off your feet. You know, you have no idea what she's going to tell you, but
the next thing you know, they're in Ravenloft.
Exactly.
Oh Lord.
Tall, dark stranger, you know, just gave a little positive spin on it.
But even Strahd would be like, no, you're just too amazing and adorable, and I can't. I'm gonna go hide in shame now.
Fantastic.
But also she loves intrigue, so she's gonna want to get involved with puzzles, and yeah, just she's such a great character. She's so good.
She is really good. And I think we're about to switch to Tiernan. So any last thoughts on Zarietta, other than she is
fantastic? Did you have a specific inspiration for her, Aaron? Was there something specifically that triggered?
I love the idea of, I think it's like a bunch of things coming together. Like I love ports and the sea. I love small. I love small. I like gnomes especially because they're ingenious and small, which I like to think of myself as being, and though with smaller ears. And I also just really like the idea of like bad, kind of like iffy fortune telling, because like sometimes if I want to make a decision, like I'll like go online and like do one of those like auto-generated tarot things. And I know it's not real, but I'll be like, oh wow, well definitely I should do that thing because this like dodgy online thing told me to. And so I like the idea of like a human version of a dodgy tarot card generator.
It also could be fun to play her as like a druid with druidcraft who's trying to pass themselves off as some sort of sorcerer or diviner, or like there was all sorts of really cool, just because of the way you've built that fortune telling idea. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I want a list of all of her fortunes that she might provide.
Oh, that's actually a good idea.
A table of possibly dodgy fortunes.
Yeah. and then another table to roll on to see if they're true or not.
Yeah. And like percentage true, like what percentage is true. That's a fantastic idea. Michael Manahan, if you are watching, make note. that's the box text that we need for Zarietta. So we're going to dive into Tiernan Dree, who is our fantastic ambulatory wheelchair user, street performer, aerialist, wheelchair dancer, all of the above.
All of the above. Esteemed guests, friends and foes, gather round. Do you like dance? Danger, defying gravity? You've come to the right place. Hurry close. The show is about to begin. Please leave some coin if you enjoy the performance. After all, this is dangerous work where we endlessly risk our family's deadly disappointment that we aren't using our university degrees. Kindly help us keep Toby's father happy that we can pay our bills this month. I am Tiernan Dree. This gorgeous gymnastic gang are my associates in aeronautics, and together we are the realm's renowned aerial dance troupe Altitude Adjustment. We've toured all over, performing for regents and ruffians, monarchs and miscreants, and at least once for Toby's parents who turned up with accounting books trying to get Toby to retire. Again, toss a coin to keep them happy. And our show's accounting free, save gravity and wind speed. If you would like to know more about us, our travels, or our tour schedule, we're here after the performance. But for now, relax, be generous with your applause and coin, and enjoy the show.
Fantastic. Tiernan is one of my faves. I just think she's so fantastic and interesting, and I love how bold she is. I love that she's the barker. Like, She is of many talents, but I'd love to hear other people's reactions to Tiernan.
First of all, incredible introduction. Frankly, just you went at that. Fantastic. Like, can we just use that as the voice acting in the book? Like,
Yeah.
Actually, we have contracted Jen to do the voice for Tiernan, so she will have Tiernan and
perfect.
the voice. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well,
That's because she's a writer and an actor and a producer and like everything.
And fear my parents' criticism for not using my university degrees.
Yeah, that's a mood.
I don't know. I just love it. Like, first of all, yes, the performance, like a triple plus, but also just like first, and I want to see the funny thing is I was like, oh yeah, we don't actually get to watch this show. We're on a Twitch stream. I was like, I'm ready. Show me. So it's just like really draws people in, but also just so curious about all the people, the miscreants and the monarchs, and like there's so much cool backstory and like, you know, makes me wonder sort of what they're up, you know, what this whole troop is up to, and like, you know, how they're staying ahead of their accounting woes. I'm very concerned about the accounting and Toby. So I think I love those types of things that really make the performer like humanizes the troupe and really makes them feel like they're different than any other troupe that you might run into, because they're so much cooler and more interesting than these other troupes out there.
Yeah. And you know, one thing that I want to point out with this is that, Jen, you did something pretty unique, which is your monologue doesn't even acknowledge the PCs. This is perfect because not everything needs to be like, oh, hey, you've come up to me. This is like, you know, and Erin did this in that Zarietta approached the PCs. You know, so there's these different moves that can happen. And I just think it's this interesting idea that the PCs are walking along and they see this, and then it's perfect that if they walk closer, here's what they hear. And then it's up to them what to do or not do. But it's this great thing that I just love it. I thought it was a really interesting move. So
thanks. Yeah, I wanted to make sure that there was I was struggling with how to have her introduce herself to the characters, because it can always be a little awkward to be like, hello, welcome to my shop. And when you're a traveling performer, you have to be performing out on, and I was thinking about like the Venice boardwalk and things like that. And, you know, walking along in a crowded space, what do you do to draw attention? And so then once I realized she could be gathering the crowd for the show, it finally kind of clicked in.
That's fantastic. I'd love to get into her personality or her backstory, personality, goals, quirk.
Yeah, so for the bio, it is while at university studying architecture, Tiernan discovered a talent and passion for dance and the aerial arts. She began performing regularly with her university's troupe, and to her great delight, began to earn enough coin to pay her way through school. After graduation, she decided to team up with several other students to form their own touring company, Altitude Adjustment. After all, she could work in architecture anywhere, but the opportunity to travel and adventure, that was special. Tiernan and her troupmates began attracting notice, and while not universally renowned, though they might tell you they were, Altitude Adjustment certainly has made enough of a name for themselves that it's been a worthwhile endeavor. Tiernan is married to Toby, a half-orc, who is one of her troupmates and her potted dirt partner. They fell in love dancing together, and a few years ago decided to wed. Tiernan never lost her love of beautiful buildings and still seeks out whatever extraordinary feats of architecture she can find, and keeps notebooks full of sketches of buildings she'd like to design one day. Tiernan is an ambulatory wheelchair user. Depending on the day, the weather, and what she has to accomplish, she may use no mobility aids, a cane, crutches, or a wheelchair to make getting around easier. Her routine involves elements both in and out of her chair, some of which involve her chair becoming part of the aerial apparatus. Tiernan has personality. Tiernan has a wry sense of humor, and she and Toby playfully tease each other relentlessly. She loves traveling, meeting new people, and seeing the world, and she always seeks out the art and architecture of each new place she visits, recording her favorite elements in her sketchbooks. She is the quintessential performer when it's time to put on a show, playing to the crowd, embellishing on stories, and mildly exaggerating the peril of altitude adjustments act, and then juxtaposing that description with truly beautiful performances on the ground and in the air. Driving goal. Tiernan wants to find inspiration for all of the elements she needs to design her dream building, an art center in a major city. Quirk. Tiernan loves traveling but hates boats and sailing. Unless there is no other way around it, Tiernan will always take the land route to her destination, even if it takes substantially longer. She's also ambidextrous and regularly switches hands while sketching.
I love the fact that she won't go by boat. That's fantastic. Like, I understand that by boat it's 3 days and that by road it's 14 days. And I can see her being like, but imagine all the scenery and the people we might meet along the way. Plus there's this town that we could perform at. Like, I'm sure she's got like a whole shtick, and spiel to like avoid the boat. So that is fantastic.
I was thinking about a friend of mine who doesn't fly, who took a boat to go to Europe it took a couple of weeks rather than flying. And so that I kind of brought that in, but also mechanically for a DM, it allows you to ensure that your players are hitting certain locations that you want them to go to instead of going directly to your big bad if you are bringing Tiernan with you.
That's really cool. And I love that you included there's a little bit of information essentially for people to understand an ambulatory wheelchair user. And that's really fantastic as well. And this is pretty much the finalized art for Tiernan, but we're actually doing a thing where we've got multiple shots of her actually performing aerially and coming down, and she's essentially in the final thing stepping out of the wheelchair, so that we can show kind of that whole progression. So she's the only one so far that has legitimately 4 images of her, because they're so cool. She looks like Spider-Man when she, like the other sketches and stuff, it's like totally Spider-Man. The flips, it's so fantastic. I love.
Really cool.
Jeff Santos, our senior illustrator, did a great job.
Phenomenal. And I when we started working on this, I sent Jamie some references. There's a dance company called Kinetic Light that is a wheelchair user and disabled dance company, and they do all sorts of amazing aerial wheelchair work. And there are a number of other wheelchair aerialists that I sent over who have turned their wheelchairs into like amazing circus apparatuses. I included those because
we'll post to those. But what we'll also post is in there, you have created a really fantastic accessibility resource, and actually in a couple of weeks we plan on having a stream on accessibility, so we'll be chatting with you about that, Jen.
Awesome.
I'm not going to put you on the spot now, but yeah, it's Jordan put that up, so you guys should check that out. It really is a great resource. Before I turn it over to you guys, I just want to say I love this kind of interaction with Toby. I want to know who Toby is. Like, I really do. And I feel like with his parents, like, I'm like, is dancing really his passion, or did he end up being there because Tiernan was there and then it just kind of, No,
they met because he was already dancing. So like he was already part of the troupe. So that's how they met. Yeah,
that's super cool.
So he's her pot of death partner. So they met, they fell in love dancing, which happens regularly when you have couples who are dancing together. So
that's so good.
Yeah, I love, first of all, it's very rare that disabled characters get depicted as being in relationships or where it's not a sort of a very condescending look at that sort of situation, where it's not a caregiver situation, or not that there are not couples where there is caregiving aspects, but most relationships have some sort of caregiving. So it was important to me to depict that kind of loving relationship where they're constantly kind of ribbing each other. And I really loved this idea of this accountant half orc whose parents like randomly show up and kind of go, why aren't you going back to accounting? You know,
That's exactly how I pictured it. I
just like you spy, you're up in the air performing stuff and you just sort of spy them in the crowd just sitting there. I don't this is what is in my head.
Hey, I think it fits. I love Aaron and Cassandra. I'd love to hear you guys. Like, what do you think of Tiernan? How do you know? Where would you place her in your game? How do you think players might bump into her? How might she keep the story going or take the players in a new direction?
Well, first of all, she's living the truest dream of all, which is being able to pay for university through your hobby. Which I think is just incredible in a fantasy
game.
RPG. Yep. But I feel like innately there's no way I could put her anywhere in my game and not have my players come running. I would absolutely, like, I don't know if she travels with like a big top or anything, or if she has like some elaborate setup, or if she just does this in the street. But there's no way they wouldn't be showing up. And I feel like that's an opportunity. Like, so many times you just have your characters come to town and they just go to the tavern. This is something bigger than a tavern. This is something way more exciting than a tavern. And it's gonna move so much more role playing.
Yeah, one of the things I love about it, so a couple of thoughts. One is like, if you're existing in like a homebrew world or whatever part of like the world, whatever corner of the world like the game's in, I love that like Tiernan could show up and like you don't have to, it's like the adventure comes to you. And you know, that I think is one of the things that's really cool about it. Also, as someone who loves like art and architecture, it's really cool to have an NPC way to like talk about, like, you're like, oh, finally, I can explain the building that I decided was in the back of my setting that my players refused to go at or look to, but Tiernan could be excited about it and describe it in a way that's really interesting. I don't know why, but an idea that I had just like for a cool adventure thing is like, I think I've seen this in movies where like an architect will be like, there's an extra column here, or like, there's probably a secret dungeon below here because it doesn't make any sense for this door to be in this direction. And so I love the idea that like Tiernan, like while setting up aerial equipment, you know, could be like, oh, you know, also like if you go down to the right, you know, there's probably a whole lair. You may want to check that out and I'll come with because I want to see the architecture of it. So I think there's like so many reasons to take Tiernan with and to like bring unexpected adventure to the players, which I really love that, where it's sort of like you're just going about your day and then it's like an adventure has appeared. So that is absolutely amazing. And or Toby's accountant parents. Like I would definitely have the accountant parents show up.
Are they the big bad of the campaign is the question. Yeah,
exactly. Especially since you did them with like a very Brooklyn accent. I was like, they Brooklyn orcs like family.
I know, I love it. I think that's fantastic. I feel like we need a write-up of Toby. I think legitimately we need to find somebody and have somebody write Toby, because I can't imagine anybody reading this and I can't imagine any players coming across this and being like, all right, now we want to meet Toby. Like, I think it's gonna be a thing. I think you can't like not want to meet Toby.
Yeah, like I want to know who all of the members of the troupe are, because I see it as like maybe 5 or 6 different performers.
Yeah, and even just like their names, their specialties. You know, there's one person. So I'm picturing there's got to be one person who at least has the magic initiate feat, so that they can use Mage Hand to like and Unseen Servant to like tie up all of the because there might be a big enough venue inside where they do some shows inside, but for outside shows, like they're tying stuff up onto architecture and stuff, and somebody's got to be using Mage Hand and Unseen Servant to like make that happen. So I definitely see that as one of the folks. I feel like we could brainstorm those right here. Like we know there's Toby, we know that there's somebody who I think there's somebody who does Mage Hand, but who are some of the other folks that might be in this troupe?
I feel like we need some sort of acrobat, right? We don't really have an acrobat.
Yeah, like an acrobat.
Mm-hmm. Like we need a flippy. We need a flippy.
Flippy person.
A flippy friend. And then
I mean, we all need a flippy friend
everybody needs a flippy friend
in life.
And then maybe some sort of danger person, either a sword swallower or a fire breather, or I mean, not that fire breathing is particularly rare when you're talking about Dragonborn and things, but maybe it's a multi-purpose juggling
sword swallower.
That's what I was like. Yeah.
Layers.
A danger. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. Those are two things that immediately start kind of coming to mind as other folks who might be in the troupe.
Yeah.
I want the danger person to be a dwarf for some reason, like Danger Dwarf.
Yeah, Danger Dwarf.
Okay.
Right.
Not their actual name, but
But maybe.
It's like Dylan the Danger Dwarf. That is not their name, I don't think.
No, that made me think, because
like
that makes me think of the people who put the pins in and like hang by the hooks. Oh, I'm both. I think that's cool, but I'm also like, oh, I can't look, but I want to look, because how are they hanging from their lip? Oh my god, no! Like,
I love that kind of thing.
Yeah, I could say. I mean, it is a way to fit in with the aerialist stuff. Oh, I just get the willies, but it's also super cool. By the way, chat, if you have ideas for who could be in this troupe, especially who our danger person might be, that like, let us know. I picture the acrobat person. I think so. This is definitely my like comic book geek coming out, but I'm picturing like a tiefling, you know, because Nightcrawler from the X-Men. Totally super flippy, and I kind of just, I don't know. I have a soft spot for Nightcrawler. He's so cool and sweet.
We love Nightcrawler.
But
that's really fun.
Yeah,
that's really fun.
That could be really cool.
You know what? The danger person has to be no dwarf works. It's like I kind of went fairy for a second.
Ooh, I like a danger fairy.
But they could maybe the fairy is like the strong man. Maybe it's like the strong person fairy. Who's like the little tiny fairy. I don't know.
I'm just loving it.
It's absolutely wild.
Yes.
But it also could be like that, the kind of trickery that they do where people come up and try and pull the sword from the stone type situation. I don't know.
Oh,
there's something in there.
That's awesome. This is gonna be the best show like that I can't see in, I can't see in real life.
I know.
That's what I'm wondering, if people like follow the show. Like, are there like, you know, folks who use that like to generate sales, or like who, you know, who are like tattoo people, you know, whatever, the folks who like make the carnival atmosphere work, who aren't actually part of the troupe, but kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can make this as big as something like the Witchlight Carnival, or as small as this is like 6 people that go around and just kind of perform wherever they can to get some lodgings and just be the evening's entertainment. They're your local bard kind of situation. So I think you can really scale Tiernan and company, you know, to, you know, you can scale altitude adjustment to whatever size you want the group to be.
You definitely need a music person though, like a one person band. Like they got the drum, the accordion, the harmonica, or the drum, the guitar, and the harmonica, and they're just, you know.
Do we have any characters that have extra arms yet?
No, we don't.
Oh, I wonder if we're gonna get some with upcoming stuff, like the new. Like Monsters of the Multiverse or something.
Yeah,
maybe.
That would be.
I should go double check that. But if we can get a creature that has like 4 arms or 6 arms,
well,
that would be really fun.
You know, Thrycreen have been a thing.
Yeah.
Oh, Thrycreen are coming out as playable for Spelljammer. So
yeah, so
Spelljammer, really?
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, I know it's a weird one, but I dig it.
Yeah, I'm into it.
They're doing interesting stuff with Spelljammer. They are. Yeah.
I'm super excited for that. I am super excited for that. Well, I do want to get into I am so sorry. We're gonna go over in time. Is that okay, Jordan? By like 5 or 10 minutes. I'm so sorry. I want to dive into auspice if we can.
Yeah, I can talk fast.
I got so distracted, and for some reason I thought we were ending at 1, even though I know that that's we usually end at 12:30. But we're gonna go a little bit over so that we have plenty of time to talk about auspice, who is just the sweetest person I have ever read. She's so sweet.
Okay.
So Cassandra, we'll turn it over to you.
All right. So Auspice, the abbot of the Lost Light Monastery. Garlic, rosemary. Now, where did I plant the thyme? I hope the rabbit didn't get any ideas. Maybe it was with the turnips or... good day. You're quite far off the beaten path. Welcome to the Lost Light Way Station. Not where you were aiming to go, I'll bet. Not a lot of people come out this far just to visit. Actually, no one at all. Still, you should come along with me. I can put on a fresh pot of tea and you can rest here before continuing. But trust me, if you've wound up all the way out here, you're already running late for whatever you had planned. What's an extra hour or two for a drink and a proper meal before you're back on the way?
That's I love this. I love the fact that we catch her in the middle of gardening. Like we just come on, she's doing her thing, as one does. And I love that you get so much personality just out from that. I'd love to hear other people's reactions though to auspice. Just from that first little monologue piece.
Oh my gosh, love it. Love that this is who you stumble across when you're not expecting. Again, it's like, I love that and that she's like, wants tea. It's very like Tumnus. It's giving me Tumnus a little bit from
this is where you end up when you fail 3 survival checks.
Yeah. And you need a place for a short or long rest. Like
it makes you want to fail the survival checks though, because who doesn't want to hang out? Like I'll be like, oh well, there's such sweetness. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, no. She's so sweet. And I feel like there's some magical item that she has that is her cookbook, like her recipe cards or something, because she's got such good spices and veggies, and like you just feel like you're going to come in and get just a wholesome, filling, warm meal. But I also love that she's in this place that it's one of those things where if you're looking for it, you can't find it. It feels very Feywild, but it clearly doesn't have to be in the Feywild. That it's just the accidental. It's one of those things you love about D&D where you can't find the place if you look for it, but when the second you stop looking, you'll stumble into it. And it's, she's just adorable. I love these characters so much, all of them.
I really love that idea. So I literally just made a note. I've made lots of notes, by the way, but I think that I'm gonna bridge on what you said, Jen. I think it'd be really cool that players who end up having tea with auspice, so short rest essentially, re-roll any ones on their hit dice. But if they decide to stay for the full meal, their any spent hit dice are max. They just get max, or they get like a little temporary hit die bonus because it's just such a wholesome meal. It's all these veggies and, I just think that that's such a great little, and it's just a little tiny bump, not anything that unbalances anything, but, and if you've been on the road, a hearty home cooked meal, like you do feel refreshed.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, it's restorative. I mean, it could also be a restoration that you get from it. It could function as a lesser or greater restoration depending on the level. But I also want to know about what that rabbit is up to. Like, what's the deal with the rabbit?
That rabbit didn't get any ideas. That rabbit's been avoiding the stew pot for a little while.
Oh no!
I was thinking the rabbit is like there's a rivalry between auspice and the rabbit, and the rabbit's constantly coming in and just being troublesome.
Alternative intro: auspice chasing a rabbit out of the garden with her broom.
or a rabbit equally chasing Auspice with a broom. Herringon. You could also have a Herringon other like initiate at the way station.
Oh
And-
yeah. Oh, I hope that rabbit didn't get any ideas. That's funny. There are a lot of fun, yeah, a lot of fun ways to deal with this. I'd love to get into the bio and personality, her goal and quirk.
Yeah, of course. So, born a demon blood in a human family, Auspice grew up being treated like an ill omen in an otherwise sleepy town. Though she was a social and enthusiastic child, adults in her life viewed her with skepticism and superstition, sprinkling salt on their doorsteps after she left, or touching iron when she came into the room, as if she were a devil herself. Her parents were no exception. She grew up feeling like they kept her at arm's reach for fear of what trouble she might bring. At a young age, she was shipped off to the Guiding Light Abbey, which took her in despite her appearance. To her surprise, she was actually greeted with less superstition here and made dear friends of the solitary monks. Auspice's effervescent chatter and unfailingly sunny disposition earned her the nicknames Little Light and Sunbeam. Well unaccustomed to their isolationist ways, Auspice was finally accepted and loved. After years of finally feeling at home, misfortune struck for her. The abbey was attacked by bandits seeking to plunder valuable relics, of which there were none. Auspice, in a shocking twist of fate, was the only survivor of the attack, having been out in the woods in meditation at the time. Left without direction in life and not wishing to return to her village, she now maintains the abbey as a way station for lost travelers, having renamed it to the Lost Light Way Station. In personality, Auspice is, as we've established, cheery about company turning up. For her, it's a rare event. As such, she never lets an opportunity to go to waste and will offer food, drink, and rest in hopes of getting guests to stay, even for a short time. Isolation has left her social skills somewhat wanting, so she often comes off pushy in her offers of hospitality. She takes great pride in her work maintaining the way station, which she keeps fastidiously tidy. In conversations, she likes to hear about other people in the outside world, but dodges questions about herself or her past. In her driving goal, she is conflicted. The Lost Light Way Station is her home. It serves a purpose, and she feels duty-bound to carry on the work and mission of those who took her in and loved her. But in her heart, she holds a small and fragile hope that if she were to return to her first family, she might finally find the unconditional love and acceptance she was denied growing up. And in her quirk, even when engaged in conversation, she never does just one thing. She's always cleaning, knitting, foraging, whittling, turning pages in a book, or otherwise keeping busy while talking.
I like legitimately cannot read through her or hear her without like getting teary-eyed. Like the whole, like just as so I'm pretty open about my sexual orientation. I'm gay. I'm mixed race Latino. I had a lot of growing up with primarily with a white family. So I'll share a little something. It's it's fine. I'm chill with it. But I don't know. So my stepfather had a lot of failings. So a lot of failings. And growing up, there was a period of time where I'm gonna just a content warning. I'm gonna use a word that is not like that is derogatory. So I was sometimes introduced as his spick stepson, and I didn't know that was a bad word. I thought that was just I was a spick. I was part spick. And so it wasn't until later in elementary school that I discovered that it was a bad word, and that I was Mexican. They were not the same thing, and it was not. So this now it's an interesting thing. People are complicated. My stepdad actually did love me a lot. He was just a broken person. He had a lot of tragedies. He was addicted to drugs. He was an alcoholic. He had bad humor. None of it doesn't make it good. People do bad things. But my point is that this hits so many tones for me, of this idea of like And I think for a lot of people who are gay or who, and I came out as an adult, or people who I think I think auspice could resonate with a lot of people who have not felt accepted for their identity, for how they were born. And it just, whew, go on.
One of my favorite tropes is always that of the character who resists insistently the cycle of abuse, the character who takes this on and suffers this pain in their life, but chooses to turn it outwards and turn it into kindness. And I guess at heart, that's what I wanted to hit with Auspice. This character who has not known a lot of kindness in her life, who tries to exude it to others.
I'd love to, I know I just spent 20 minutes now talking about Auspice and but I'd love how she impacts me personally, but I'd love to hear from Jen and Aaron what you guys think about Auspice and how she might fit in your game or anything about her.
I'll go first. Okay, so I just wanted to give Auspice all the hugs. I was like, where's Auspice? Where can I hug Auspice and drink all the tea? I'll drink all your tea. I'll fight the bunny. I'll do anything.
Fully very caffeinated.
I'm ready for adventure now. But I agree. I think what really resonated with me was the idea of, I think sometimes we can fall into the trap of thinking that, experiencing violence must make someone violent. And so I love that the loss of the found family, which is, I would assume, very traumatic for Auspice, wasn't and now I have become the avenging angel of death, but instead, I am going to build a home and exude this positivity. And the one thing that I keep thinking, I want to have an adventure where Auspice gives you descriptions of the bandits, but your job is not to go kill them, but actually go to figure out why they were banditing and try to send that try to fix their life, it's Ayanla fix my life for the bandits, as a way to extend and the spirit of the place out. So that was the first thing I was how can we continue to use Auspice as an example for how to break the cycle of violence?
Yeah, there's something really amazing and beautiful about the idea that you could go, Auspice could send you to find the bandits and bring them back to her. And the players are going to default to, she deserves to have her vengeance and blah, blah, blah. And really what she wants is a chance to talk to them and, have closure and heal those wounds. And maybe because this happened a long time ago, some people have, the first thing they're going to do is burst into tears and say, I'm so sorry. And, there's a beautiful moment that you don't get a lot in these kinds of games. I love that she opens up these beautiful possibilities for stories about healing and I love that she's taken the home of her found family and continued it on as an opportunity for other people to find respite and welcome.
I still want to like scout her hometown for her and like lay the groundwork for her return. Like, do you know what I mean? Be like, you know who's really cool? Auspice. Like, you know what I mean? But like, I would love to sort of like I think it would be really cool to figure out what that is. I always wonder if she occasionally sends people to like get an ingredient for a stew that like happens to come from like her hometown to sort of keep tabs on them, even though she's far away and has like that fraught relationship with them, because you still do have complex feelings even for folks who don't offer you acceptance. So there's just so much awesomeness.
I can see her sending,
forever.
Oh yeah, I can see her sending, like, maybe she hears that crops were bad and she sends like like some satchels of veggies and things, like I can just see her doing that, like, or she's got a ton of canned goods because she's spent, what are you going to do with a whole, what were you going to say, Jen?
Or like, I can see her almost baking like a ratatouille or something, because I see her baking like amazing vegetarian food. I don't know why, that's just what she cooks in my mind, like
checks out,
incredible spices, and I don't know, but like making a ratatouille and like having someone leave it at her family home anonymously every so often, and that's just her way she reconciles it. I don't know. It's so there's so many feelings with her. She's so she deserves all the best and kindness and love and
And I want to know like who else has come through. Like I almost want like a side table of like teas, like people who have visited and teas she's served them. Like, you know, like this particular, like, cause she seems like the type of person who like would find out your like favorite. She's just not gonna like give you some basic tea, like, you know what I mean, or basic meal. Like she would find out about you and like somehow it's like what she serves is like very restorative to you personally. So I would love to be like, oh, she's like this person visited on the way from here to here and like served them blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? I just love this like idea.
she's like serving the barbarian chamomile tea, but then serving, you know, the elven mage like mint tea with like a sprig of rosemary in it, and then she's come out with like 5 different teas, and everybody's like, what the heck, you know?
I also love the idea that the people who stumble upon the way station are people who have a similar type of loss in their life where they have not been accepted for who they are, and Auspice is a place, like Auspice creates a place of welcoming to allow them to go onto a path of being an adventurer and being like she creates this really wonderful accepting healing place for those who have experiences like hers. And it's you know, people who are in not great spots are the ones who can stumble upon the way station and find her.
You know what that makes me think of, and this we'll wrap up here in a second, but in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, they start talking about patrons. Mm-hmm. I can see Auspice as an unusual kind of patron for like the non-violent games. Like she's always like, she's like, well, you know, yeah, there's a problem with goblins, but you know, if we can just get them some things so they can start farming, or then they don't have to raid, or maybe there's, you know, the issue is that the, you know, that she's trying to encourage the PCs to find alternative ways to do things. And there are plenty of people who would love those kind of games. I would love to sometimes play a game that, you know, not everything is about bashing. You know, it's one of the reasons why, you know, we sometimes play kind of cloak and dagger kind of games or intrigue games. But this is like that wholesome, you know, Animal Crossing or Stardew Valley game, you know, where Auspice is a patron for you. She's giving you quests, but the solution is not murder hoboing, you know, because that's not her vibe.
Yeah, I love the idea that she would reward you for finding solutions and exploring the backstories of whatever you would normally go in and just start, you know, drawing silver or drawing weapons and fighting. That you are rewarded for trying to understand the root of conflict and work with people to find solutions.
Yeah. Work
with communities to find solutions and support them to create peace and happiness. Like those are the things she rewards you for, and she'll bring you back for tea, and you'll get, you know, the food she makes can have different powers. I love the idea of cooking love into food, because food is such an expression of love, and that she just becomes this, you know, that's when she'll. And you can walk around saying, this was an auspicious moment, you know?
Yeah. Boom. That, and on that perfect note, we are past time, but we had such a great time with you folks. Thank you so much. I am super confident that everybody took a D8 for inspiration and rolled an 8. So I'm going to tell you folks to go out to your day knowing that you rolled an 8 today, thanks to our wonderful creatives. I want to give you folks an opportunity to remind everyone who you are and where they can find your work, and then we're gone. So, Erin, I'll let you kick it off.
So once again, I'm Erin Roberts. You can find me on Twitter at Nirele, which is L Erin backwards, so Nirele. Weird. Yeah, I'm around. I write for a bunch of things. I think the most recent thing that I've put out is a sex chat bot interactive fiction piece where you can create sex Mad Libs for fun. It takes 5 to 10 minutes and will hopefully put a smile on your face. It always puts a smile on mine. So
We will put that in chat for people who are interested.
That's awesome. It's so cool. I love it. I am Jen Kretchmer. You can find me on Twitter as @DreamWisp. You can find me streaming on Twitch as DreamWispJen on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific. You can find me on Children of Erte along with Deborah Ann Wool as our DM, Adam Bradford, Hope Lavelle, Lauren Urban, and Alicia Marie. You can catch up on those on YouTube. I have a few other cool things happening. You can check them out on Twitter, where you can find my pinned tweet, which includes the accessibility and gaming resource guide. So
I'm Cassandra McDonald at TheIceQueer on Twitter, all one word. I'm currently working with the N World on a sci-fi RPG coming up soon, Void Runners Codex. You can find that through them. I have nothing else to promote. Auspice wants you to see your turnips.
Fantastic. Well, thank you everybody for coming and hang out with us. Thank you to our amazing creators. Look forward to more announcements about Anansi's Tapestry of Lives and way more super cool NPCs. And I think our next show next week is going to be about horror, playing and DMing horror TTRPGs. So that'll be a fun one. So thank you everybody. Goodbye. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Go.